Good evening, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV. Yes, it is a little after 1 a.m. Eastern. But this is a big story to me. So we're coming on and doing a late night update about TikTok. TikTok could stop working in the US in less than a day. It depends on how they define Sunday. But there's a world in which it stops working in 22 hours and 56 minutes and 35 seconds and counting down. Wow. An app that I believe 170 million Americans use. It is a hugely popular app, and it could just stop working. Maybe for good. Maybe for good. I've been thinking it's not gonna stop working, but the company came out tonight, a few hours ago, and said that unless the Biden administration provides more assurance to critical service providers who help provide TikTok to people in the U.S., the company says they're going to shut off the app in the U.S. It's going dark. As of Sunday. And that clock is how much time until Sunday East Coast time. So, it was looking today like, well, maybe the Biden administration and the Trump administration won't enforce this law, and there'll be a ban on the books, but it won't be enforced. But we're not even talking about the Biden administration or the Trump administration enforcing the law. We're talking about the company just saying, well, whether or not you enforce this law, if it's official, we got to go dark. So this really notched it up tonight, notched up the pressure, notched up the tension. So what's going to happen? I don't know. But what is this? Nicole says, my teenage daughter thinks this won't happen. A lot of people not only use it, but a lot of people work. There are many creators who work on TikTok, and also businesses that sell stuff on TikTok. It's a big business. Advertisers who advertise on TikTok. Wow. So I don't know what's going to happen here. I think it's a really big story. It could just stop working. So we're going to talk about it. I wanted to cover this the last couple of days, and other stuff kept happening. So I did want to come on and do a stream about it tonight. The basic, we'll talk about this in a little more detail, but the basic deal is last year, the U.S. federal government passed a law that said that the Chinese company that owns TikTok needed to sell it, because the U.S. considered it a security risk that this Chinese company with ties to the Chinese government owned this app that so many people used in the U.S. and had people's data in the U.S. and presented content for people to consume in the U.S. So Congress and the president signed this law, which said, that because of this security risk, this Chinese company, ByteDance, needed to sell the app to somebody else where it wasn't going to be a security risk. That sale has not happened so far. There's no sign that such a sale is close right now. And, the company might just not sell. It might just not be sold. And then what happens? Well, the law takes effect on January 19th. That's Sunday. Chris N says people make good money on TikTok. Some of our viewers don't use it, but it is a wildly popular app, and it is a big business. So I don't know what's going to happen. William Peters says, why does Elon Musk not buy it? So the whole question of who might buy it and how much it might sell for and all that is a very interesting question. I'll try to find some stuff on that. I'm not an expert on all this stuff. Be very expensive to buy, though. Terry Bryan says, I like the information on there. I use it regularly. I go on there. So let's get into this. Let's talk a little bit about this because we haven't even done a stream on this yet. And it's really coming down to a deadline here. By the way, thank you so much to Adrian R. for the gift memberships. Thank you. No, Grevin, I'm not going to be streaming all 24 hours, but if this, certainly, if this looks like it's going to happen tomorrow, later tonight, because I'm already on Saturday time, we will be covering it live if we're getting right up to that deadline. Thank you, Grevin Share. Thank you also, Corn Pop 82, who says, I don't agree with it, but IQ will go up afterward. That's what Corn Pop says. And Austin, thanks for being a member. Yeah, I mean, like if you haven't used it, just imagine clearly you use some sort of social media platforms because you're watching this right now. But if you haven't used TikTok, just imagine some other social media platform you use, like YouTube or Facebook or, X or whatever, just disappearing. Maybe for good in the US. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Thanks also to our moderators who are here for our late night live stream. Robert's May Queen is there over on YouTube. And we have Linda Belk and Larry on X. Over there on Twitch, Nicole says, my daughter loves it. Good luck, Duck and Surly Dev over there on Twitch moderating. Hey, thanks to Gonzalez. Yes, Gonzalez, if it's going to shut down, I will be live for that. I mean, that would be, the earliest that would be is, midnight Eastern time. And I don't even know if they would do it then. If they say they're shutting down, if they're going dark on January 19th, they could be meeting midnight Pacific time. I don't know how they would handle it. That's why I have could go dark on the screen. Thank you, Gonzalez. And also thanks to our Facebook moderators. But yeah, we would definitely cover that live. Michael Burmester says, time is ticking. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Margaret Riley is moderating. So is Paul Anderson. Hope Wynn says, I just think about all the money Amazon and Meta have lost because the younger generation is so addicted to TikTok. It is so strange that they allow Red Note on the App Store. That is legitimately Chinese owned and ran, but draw a line in the sand at TikTok, which is a company owned by somebody who is from Singapore, says Hope Win. I hope there is much more to this story. This is definitely huge for us to watch. Well, thank you for watching. Okay. So let's talk about this. Oh, and thank you, Walter Beasley. Walter says lots of global info covered on TikTok with different perspectives. Thanks, Walter. I agree with you. If you've never used TikTok, you might think it's all it is just like kids dancing to songs. No, there's all kinds of stuff on TikTok. I watch it. I watch, for example, I've seen news stuff, travel stuff, sports stuff, all kinds of like the politics stuff. Music stuff. There's all kinds of stuff on TikTok. It's kind of like whatever it's kind of like YouTube in a way. It's whatever you're into, you probably can find something about it on TikTok. There's all kinds of, but it's not just, the content is not just for kids at all. There's a lot of adult stuff on TikTok, a lot of stuff that, all kinds of things, all kinds of topics. Hey, thanks to Jan Erik Edvardsen for the Red Bull Fund, Jan says, so you can keep going till the countdown reaches 0. I don't know what's going to happen here. I just don't know. All right, so let's talk about this. This is what TikTok policy came out with tonight. This was a big deal, huge deal. Because the thinking was, well, maybe this law will go into effect on Sunday. But which is a TikTok ban. But the thinking was, well, maybe the government in the U.S. won't actually enforce the law. The Biden administration had already said today they were not going to implement it on the last day of their administration. The Biden administration basically said it's up to the Trump administration whether to enforce this law and enforce the ban. And there was signs that maybe the Trump administration would give it some more time. And maybe Trump would give it more time. But this is something new. This is the company saying, well, we're just going to shut down the app. We're going to shut it down. We're not waiting for you to shut it down, U.S. government. We're going to shut it down. Look what they say. The statements issued today by both the White House and the Department of Justice have failed to provide the necessary clarity and assurance to the service providers that are integral to maintaining TikTok's availability to over 170 million Americans. Unless the Biden administration immediately provides a definitive statement to satisfy the most critical service providers, assuring non-enforcement, unfortunately, TikTok will be forced to go dark on January 19th. Now, you might say, what are they talking about, critical providers? There's companies that allow TikTok to work in the US. Now, I don't know exactly what those are. I believe Google and Apple with their app stores might be two of them. But I'll show you some articles that talks about this. But what they're saying, my understanding of what they're saying is basically like, look, if this ban goes into effect, even if you're not immediately enforcing it, any company that works with TikTok, that helps TikTok get to the end users, to the consumers, to the viewers in the US, they're taking a huge risk. Even if the Trump administration doesn't enforce the ban immediately, or the Biden administration doesn't enforce the ban on their last day, the idea is these companies could be at great legal risk. Because what happens if a month from now the U.S. decides to enforce the ban? I believe the law has fines for companies. So what they're saying basically is like, look, even if you don't enforce this ban, if it comes into effect, we can't put the companies that work with us in this position to be at such risk to themselves unless you, Biden administration, provide a definitive, that's unquestionable, clear, very clear, explicit, definitive, final statement to satisfy the most critical service providers, assuring non-enforcement. So basically, like it's saying like, hey, Biden administration, and I guess the Trump administration after that, right? Because Biden administration is only around until the 20th. Hey, U.S. government, you need to say something very, very clearly that assures us that the companies that we work with to get TikTok to our viewers in the U.S. are not putting themselves in legal jeopardy by continuing to help us get to people after the ban is technically in place, even if you're not enforcing it. That's how I take this whole thing. Now, you might say, are they really worried about the companies they're working with? Is this like a negotiation tactic? I don't know. But they're saying, we're going to shut it down. Whether you enforce the ban or not, we're just going to shut it down. As of Sunday, on Eastern time, that's 22 hours and 43 minutes from now. So that was a new twist tonight. The company saying, we're going to go dark. So that's the new twist. Wow. I'm going to try to get something explaining this a little more. Let's see if I can do this for you. I could definitely get you something explaining it more. Let's see, what should I show you first? What I specifically wanted was an explanation of what they said. Hold on. Yeah, so like the Wall Street Journal had an explanation of what the company said. And according to the Wall Street Journal, what the company is saying is something like this. If the law goes into effect, technically banning TikTok because it hasn't been sold on Sunday, even if the U.S. government does not immediately enforce the law, even though it's on the books, right? TikTok works with companies to get it to American users. Those companies include the app stores like Google and Apple, and also the Wall Street Journal says they work with Oracle, which hosts US users' data in the cloud. And TikTok believes that those companies, if they keep working with TikTok after the ban comes into effect on the 19th, those companies are putting themselves at risk for paying huge fines, according to the law, for breaking the law. So they mentioned that. Let me show you something else, a little basic overview here. TikTok says it will go dark unless it gets clarity from Biden following Supreme Court ruling. The Supreme Court earlier on Friday said they were not going to strike down this law. The law that was passed last year that said TikTok must be sold by the Chinese company that owns it, or it's going to be banned in the US. That's what the law said. And the Supreme Court on Friday morning refused to strike down the law. They said the law is constitutional. We're not striking it down, which would allow TikTok, the ban to happen. So AP says TikTok said it will have to go dark this weekend unless the outgoing Biden administration assures the company it won't enforce a shutdown of the popular app after the Supreme Court on Friday unanimously allowed the federal law banning the app unless it's sold by its China-based parent company. The Supreme Court said that the risk to national security posed by TikTok's ties to China overcomes concerns about limiting speech by the app or its 170 million users in the US. Also, the decision came against the backdrop of unusual political agitation by President-elect Donald Trump. Trump vowed that he could negotiate a solution. Also the Biden administration and the administration of President Biden, which has said it would not enforce the law. That law was passed with overwhelming bipartisan, both party support. And let me just show you what the White House said today in their statement about this law. Right, where is it here? Here. Statements from the White House secretary, press secretary regarding TikTok. Now look at the bottom. Given the sheer fact of timing, this administration recognizes that actions to implement the law simply must fall to the next administration, which takes office on Monday. That is the Biden administration saying, even though the ban kicks in on Sunday, we're not going to do anything about it. Trump team takes over on Monday. It's up to them to implement the ban that the law says. The law says TikTok needs to be banned if it's not sold by Sunday. But, the law is just something written down somewhere. It doesn't actually carry out the ban. You need people to carry out the ban. So they're saying, well, we're not going to do it. It's up to the Trump administration starting Monday. And the statement also said that the White House thinks that TikTok should remain available to Americans, but simply under American ownership or other ownership that addresses the national security concerns identified by Congress in developing this law. So they said they're not going to enforce it, but might not matter. But apparently it's weird. They said we're not going to enforce it. That's how I took this. But apparently this wasn't good enough for TikTok. TikTok said, unless the Biden administration immediately provides a definitive statement to satisfy the most critical service providers, assuring non-enforcement. They did say they weren't going to enforce it, but I wonder if what TikTok is looking for is the Biden administration basically said, we're not going to enforce it for Sunday. That's like the last day of our administration. But starting on Monday when Trump takes over, it's up for them. It's up to them. And it kind of sounds like maybe what TikTok is looking for is some sort of firm, no, we're not just talking about if it's going to be enforced on Sunday. We want some assurance that as long as, give us a number of days or number of months, or just say like, we're not going to enforce it right now. And if we are in the future, we'll give you a 10-day notice or something. So I take this as wanting some sort of more maybe longer term promise to not enforce this law, because all that the Biden administration has said so far is we're not going to enforce it for one day, Sunday. That's the only day they have left, basically. And I guess the first part of Monday. I know it's a little technical here, but anyways, let me read some comments from you guys. By the way, quick thanks to Rachel Hudson, who said you're going to need more late night snacks for this. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you also. Jacob Hannikin says, playing devil's advocate, but seeing how TikTok is owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company, could be used as a mental weapon in the future if conflict breaks out. I mean, we know the CCP has a strong hand in Chinese companies. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about why this law was passed and what Congress was thinking and what the president was thinking, the reasoning behind it. Hang on a moment here. But I think, what Jacob's concern is that it could be used as a way for the Chinese government to influence what Americans think about things. Let's see here. Hang on a second here. Give me a second here. It'd be nice if I could get you the actual text of the law. Yeah, the law is called the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act. That's literally what the law is. And this is a copy of the law from congress.gov. It was passed, I guess, received in the Senate of the United States. I forget what day it was passed on. It was last year. But you can see, to protect the national security of the United States from the threat posed by foreign adversary-controlled applications, such as TikTok and any successor application or service, and any other application or service developed or provided by ByteDance or an entity under the control of ByteDance. It should be unlawful for an entity to distribute, maintain, or update a foreign adversary-controlled application. And it gets into other technical stuff here. But again, the law is the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act. Hang on one moment here. Yes, and here, look, so this is an article from AP from last week. U.S. government says Chinese authorities could force the company, ByteDance. So the law would ban TikTok unless the parent company based in China that owns it sells it. The U.S. government says Chinese authorities could force the company, ByteDance, that owns it, to hand over sensitive data on its massive American user base or influence the spread of information on the platform through its proprietary algorithm. TikTok says these concerns are overblown and the law should be struck down because it violates the First Amendment. So those are the two big concerns right there. Concerns that the Chinese government could get access to lots of data, personal data on Americans through this app, by making the company, the Chinese company that owns it, hand it over. And also that, as this is what Jacob was talking about, that the Chinese government could use the app to influence the spread of information, and influence how people in the US think. And you might say, how could they do that? Well, in case you're not familiar, the way a lot of people use TikTok is you open it up and you just start scrolling through the videos, and TikTok chooses what to show you. Now, you can choose to follow accounts on TikTok, and you can choose to only actually see the accounts you follow. But what I think most people do, and I do this too, is you have a feed called is it the For You page, I think, FYP or FY feed, For You page, For You feed, and you scroll through it, and some of what you see, and TikTok basically chooses what to show you. And some of what you see is the stuff you follow, but a bunch of what you see is stuff that TikTok just suggests to you. So the idea is, if the Chinese government wanted to make the people in the US have a certain opinion, they might start telling ByteDance, hey, why don't you start suggesting these videos that maybe say that it's okay if China takes over Taiwan. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. I'm just saying you can pick the topic, but that would be the idea, is that the Chinese government could influence the company to start making the app push certain videos with certain viewpoints. Okay, so that's this concern where it says the U.S. government is worried that the Chinese government could force the company to influence the spread of information on the platform through its proprietary algorithm. So those are those concerns. Okay, but anyways, so this law got passed last year, and it said, Chinese company ByteDance that owns TikTok, you got to sell it or we're going to ban it. Well, that law kicks in Sunday. And as I said, there's been this question, would the U.S. government actually enforce it? The Biden administration has already said on Sunday they're not going to shut down the app on Sunday. They leave it to the Trump administration. There's been some signs from Trump and I believe others in the administration, but definitely from Trump, that maybe he would give them some extra time. But what happened, and he would try to work something out with them. But what happened tonight is that the TikTok came out and they said they will shut the app down themselves. It will go dark on Sunday unless the Biden administration immediately provides a definitive statement to satisfy the most critical service providers, assuring non-enforcement. And I take this to mean that they want some stronger statement from the U.S. government that we are not going to enforce this ban for this amount of time, because the only statement so far is from the Biden administration saying we're not going to enforce it on Sunday. That's it, basically. We're not going to enforce it, and it's up to the Trump administration. So they say unless the Biden administration does something, but I would think if Trump came out and said something like, we will definitely not enforce this for 3 months or something, maybe they'd be satisfied with that for 3 months. I don't know. But will ByteDance itself, will the company that runs TikTok just shut it off in the U.S. in roughly 22 and a half hours? All right, I want to take some comments from you guys. I know it's a big of a complex topic, but we're going to take some comments from you. I've been trying to explain it a little bit. Hey, thanks to Captain Jerry Donnelly, by the way. Captain Jerry Donnelly thinks it's lazy content for kids and spying. Thanks to Miranda Stevens. What mechanism could a president use to overturn a law? Well, you'd have to have the law be repealed. The Congress would have to pass a law and the president would have to sign it repealing the law. I mean, I guess so there's this thing where in theory, like it's up to the executive branch to enforce the laws. So in theory, Trump could just tell his executive branch to not enforce the law. I mean, I would think that could lead to a problem because Congress would say, well, we passed this law and the president signed it. So you're just going to choose to not enforce a law? I don't know how that would all work. Because, I mean, it is a law. So I'm a little confused as to how that would all work. But President Trump can't get rid of the law on his own. The law is the law. So the law can only be changed by Congress passing a new law and the president approving that, signing it, as I understand it. Let's see here. Oh, somebody asked about whether the president could issue an executive order. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's see here. Yeah, people are mentioning executive order in the chat. So there's been reporting that Trump might try to issue an exec. First of all, let's just get clear here. No matter what Trump does, it won't matter if TikTok itself shuts down the app. Trump is not president until Monday. The app might not be working on Monday. Now, could it not be working on Monday? Could it not be working on Sunday? Could it get shut down on Sunday and then Trump on Monday says, hey, I won't enforce this. And then the app comes back on Monday? I don't know. Don't know. Renee says they can turn it back on. But let's talk about that whole question of can Trump just choose to not enforce this law that's on the books? All right, hold on. Let's talk about a couple things here. Here's a little summary. Let me just read this because it's a little summary, then I'm going to show you something else. This is from the Washington Post. TikTok says app set to go dark when ban hits Sunday. TikTok said that the app will have to go dark on Sunday in the U.S., barring a last-minute intervention from the Biden administration to halt enforcement of the federal ban, even though they already said they're not going to enforce it on Sunday. The Supreme Court on Friday upheld the law that will ban the popular video platform nationwide on Sunday if it does not divest from its Chinese parent company ByteDance. So if ByteDance doesn't sell the app. The law largely leaves the ban's implementation to TikTok's business partners, including app store giants Google and Apple, and internet hosting services, which could face massive fines if they carry or update the app or site past Sunday. So this is a whole other issue here, is even if Trump says, well, I'm not going to enforce the ban, these companies that actually work with TikTok to get this app to the users in the US, they might say, we don't want to take the risk. Even they say they're not going to enforce it, but we could be subject to huge fines if we keep allowing this app to be provided to customers after the ban has technically taken effect. While ByteDance could in theory still prevent the prohibition by selling TikTok before Sunday, it has resisted efforts to force a sale, all but ensuring the app would at least partially go dark this weekend. President Trump has pledged to save TikTok from the ban or sale law, but said Friday his plans are not yet final and that he will need time to review the situation. The TikTok CEO thanked Trump for his commitment to work with us to find a solution that keeps TikTok available in the U.S. in a video posted on TikTok Friday. The TikTok CEO added, "Rest assured, we will do everything in our power to ensure our platform thrives as your online home for limitless creativity and discovery, as well as a source of inspiration and joy for years to come." Now, Trump today said something about this. Hang on Truth Social. He said today, the Supreme Court decision was expected, and everyone must respect it. My decision on TikTok will be made in the not too distant future, but I must have time to review the situation. Stay tuned. And it's a bit confusing because the law says that TikTok is banned on Sunday if it's not sold. And Trump is saying, I must have time to review the situation. And he also says, my decision on TikTok. There's this whole other thing where in theory, I believe the president can give it 90 days more, but I believe that the 90 days more require that certain progress has been made toward a sale, which I don't believe has actually been made yet. So that's a whole thing. But a number of you asked about the idea of Trump making an executive order to like not enforce the law. So there was an article about this I wanted to show you here. Give me one moment and I will show it to you. Let's see here. I have a couple things I can show you on this. Here, Trump considers executive order to save TikTok from a ban. This is from the Washington Post. Trump considers executive order. But can he even do this? The Washington Post says, President-elect Trump is considering an executive order, once in office, that would suspend enforcement of the TikTok ban or sale law for 60 or 90 days, buying the administration time to negotiate a sale or alternative solution. A legally questionable effort to win a brief reprieve for the Chinese-owned app now scheduled to be banned on Sunday nationwide. Trump has been mulling ways to save the day for the wildly popular video app, talking through unconventional deal-making and legal maneuvers, such as an executive order that would unravel the law passed by Congress and signed by the president last year with bipartisan support, according to two people familiar with the deliberations. Trump has expressed a keen interest, says the Washington Post, in being seen as rescuing a platform on which he's been told he's wildly admired, leading political aides and business allies to scramble for options that would allow him to deliver on his campaign promise to save TikTok. As he has said repeatedly on his more than 14 million follower TikTok account. Last month, he said, I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok. The main question is, how does he save TikTok? A law signed by President Biden last year, passed by Congress, signed by the president, calls for the app's owner, the Beijing-based tech giant ByteDance, to sell the app by January 19th, Sunday, or face an immediate ban. The Supreme Court, this was written a couple days ago, has now ruled that the law is constitutional. So the Supreme Court is not going to overturn that law. Trump, one of the people said, the law is aimed at addressing Justice Department concerns that the Chinese government could secretly use the app to spy on Americans or broadcast propaganda. Trump, one of the people said, is eager to be seen as making a deal and signing an executive order soon after the deadline's passing, just one day before his inauguration, would give the proceedings a cinematic flourish. But can he legally do this? The strategy of using an executive order, the kind of presidential decree that Trump dashed off in rapid fashion at the start of his first presidential term, has fueled doubts among some legal observers who argue the president's word can't entirely overcome a law that Congress approved with overwhelming bipartisan support. This expert, this former national security advisor to the Justice Department, Alan Rosenstein, who's now at the University of Minnesota, said, executive orders are not magical documents. They're just press releases with nicer stationery. TikTok will still be banned, and it will still be illegal for Apple and Google to do business with them. But it will make the president's intention to not enforce the law that much more official. Okay, so, this something, and again, I am not an expert on all this legal stuff, but the law will make it illegal for companies that work with ByteDance to get this app to American consumers, to work with them. So they just might stop working with, even if TikTok wants to keep going, they might say, well, We're technically banned from doing this. We can't take the risk. We're not going to work with you anymore. But TikTok tonight said that those companies that work with them need to get a big reassurance, or TikTok themselves is just going to go dark. Unless the Biden administration immediately provides a definitive statement to satisfy the most critical service providers of TikTok, companies that work with them, assuring non-enforcement, unfortunately, TikTok will be forced to go dark on Sunday. All right, hold on. I'm going to take some comments in a second. The Washington Post says Trump's political allies have worked to build him up as the lone man qualified to rescue TikTok. Though he tried to ban TikTok during his first presidential term, Trump has in recent years celebrated TikTok as a way to undercut tech companies he despised, such as Meta, and reach young voters at viral speed. Let's see here. To undermine the law, to weaken, to get rid of the law, Trump could push Congress to repeal it. A tough proposal, given that it was one of Capitol Hill's few bipartisan points of agreement last year. He could also direct his attorney general not to enforce it, effectively pretending the law doesn't exist. Pam Bondi, his attorney general nominee, declined to say whether she would commit to enforcing the law during her confirmation hearing. Okay, there's that. Some in Trump's orbit have floated options that would involve carving off pieces of the company for sale to satisfy the law, give American companies a slice of the business, and let them take credit for sealing the deal. The law says the app will not be banned if its foreign owner executes a qualified divestiture, a type of transaction that it gives the president broad leeway to define. Let me see. Anything else I want to point out here? Yeah, there's a lot more detail in this article. I'm going to just stop for a second and take some comments from you guys. Anyways, so maybe there's some creative deal that Trump can work out that ByteDance would be happy with. I don't know. As you can see, there are definitely some technicalities here and complex legal issues here. Oh, by the way, hey, Lord Cog, that's very generous of you, Lord Cog. Thanks so much for your support. Lord Cog. Thank you also, Maddie and Kenza from Olympia and Captain Jerry Donnelly. Is there another service TikTok users can go to, says Captain Jerry Donnelly? A number of TikTok users, I don't know how many, I guess have been downloading this Chinese app, another Chinese app, right? Called like Redbook or something. I don't know, there's other apps you can use. Will you have the same following? If you had 100,000 followers or 200,000 followers or 2 million followers on TikTok, are they all going to go over to this new app and follow you there and watch you there just as much? Is the new app going to suggest your videos the same way that TikTok did? I don't know. Those are big questions, So it's the same thing with apps in the US. If you're on YouTube, and you're not on YouTube anymore for whatever reason, can you just go to Twitch? Can you just go to Meta? Maybe you can't. Maybe your audience is not going to follow you over there. Maybe you're not going to be as popular there. So, don't know. My guess is it might be difficult. I'll try to find something on that too. Our viewer, one of our viewers says, David Moorer says, the Chinese will try to embarrass Trump by not selling. That's a whole interesting theory. And that's this question of is China just upset about this, about being forced to sell this thing that a Chinese company developed? And, I'm guessing the U.S. would like it to sell it to a U.S. company. And might China just be like, look, we're just not selling? I mean, I don't know, but that's certainly possible. That's a whole other X factor here. Where is the thing about... here's the thing about the other app. I haven't looked at this app myself. U.S. TikTok users flock to Chinese app Xiaohongshu in protest with TikTok ban looming. As the threat of a TikTok ban looms, U.S. TikTok users are flocking to the Chinese social media app Xiaohongshu, making it the top downloaded app in the U.S. I have not tried it. I should try it. Some of the TikTok refugees say the TikTok alternative, a Chinese app, is being chosen in protest of the TikTok ban. It means Xiaohongshu, which in English means Little Red Book, is a Chinese social media app that combines e-commerce, short video, and posting functions. I haven't used it. Let's see here. The hashtag TikTok refugee topic has racked up over 160,000 posts on Xiaohongshu, many of which are videos of American users introducing themselves and asking for tips on how to navigate the app, which they are calling Red Note. So there's that. Though Xiaohongshu has seen an influx of users, says AP, it is not clear if the app could replace TikTok, which has created an ecosystem that allows for e-commerce and advertising. Before TikTok was under threat, the overwhelming majority of Xiaohongshu's users were Chinese, and the app, which lacks translation features, is not optimized for an international user base. So might be very tough to transfer over. Captain Jerry Donnelly says, I work as a clock watchsmith in my retirement. I will buy it. Thank you, Captain Jerry Donnelly. Let's see here. Where is it here? I want to check it. What will happen to TikTok and Apple? Let's see. ZX says, I used Red Note for one day and now I'm pro CCP. I think ZX is joking. So Left Side Story says, why can't we, US, just create a new American-made TikTok? Understand the question. So TikTok has there's a proprietary algorithm. It's like a computer program that shows you certain things. TikTok, one of the big allures of TikTok, maybe the biggest allure, is that it can figure out what you want to see. So you open it up and you start scrolling through videos. A lot of what you see is stuff that you didn't choose to see. You don't follow the people, and it's new. But the algorithm, the computer program it uses, is good at giving people what they want, even if they don't even know they want it, and showing you stuff that you might like. And so people enjoy scrolling through. And I got to say, I use TikTok regularly, and I think the algorithm does a good job of presenting me things that I might like or be interested in, and introducing me to new things. So, one issue would be that in the US, they would need to develop their own algorithm, their own computer program that works as well as TikTok in presenting you new content that you might be interested in. Also, though, for people who have a big following on TikTok, you might just say, well, why can't everybody switch to the other app? A lot of people just might not want to switch. There was talk in the last couple of years that people might leave X and go to another app, but a lot of people might not do it. So you might have a big following on TikTok, and a lot of your favorite creators might be there. Maybe not. Maybe some of them don't go over, or maybe a bunch of your followers don't go over. It's hard to get 170 million people to do something, to switch to the same app. So, but a decent question, though. Glam Girl ATL says that's what makes it addictive, the algorithm. Now, Afterglow says YouTube recommendations are awful and Reels are the worst. Now, let me say this without speaking to YouTube or any. I'll listen to your experience. My experience, here's something I think is relevant from my personal experience. I used to use Facebook more. I rarely use it now. Last night, I went onto my Facebook feed to like catch up with what my friends were doing. And Facebook was doing this thing where like every third post was something from somebody I didn't follow or some page I didn't follow, which I have a big issue with anyway. But aside from that, I wasn't interested in any of these things. I was annoyed anyway because I was like, just let me see who I follow. But aside from that, like this was not doing a good job of giving me new things that I might be interested in, even though I was really interested in just seeing who I follow. But that aside, if I had wanted to see new material, it was not presenting me with new stuff that I was really interested in. So that would be an example of an algorithm which is not doing a good job of giving me stuff that I might be interested in. David Gray says maybe Zuckerberg will buy it. Hey, we should check out this. People have asked about who might buy it if it's sold. Where is the article here? AP had an article. Who could buy TikTok? Only a few parties are serious about offering. By the way, thanks to Bebop and Rocksteady, who says tracks how long you stay on vids, keystroke, finger swipe data, eye movement tracking to gauge interest via retina movements. Source, I made it up. Oh, but however it does it, TikTok figures out from your viewing history and who knows what else what you might like. One of our viewers said, "Please, Donald Trump, save us." That's Matej Lipton. Let's see here. One of our viewers, Dowo, says TikTok doesn't want to sell it. By the way, thanks to our moderators who are here. We're doing a late night update on this. I think it's a big story. We haven't had a chance to cover it yet, so I wanted to cover it. Let's see here. Thanks to we have, for example, moderating right now, Sarah and Surly Dev, Linda Belk and Larry over there on X, all of our other moderators. Thank you. Okay. Oh, thank you, Denise Horton. Denise Horton says TikTok's algorithm is amazing. She loves it. All right, let's look at this for a second. This is from AP, and they say, who could buy TikTok? Only a few parties are serious about offering. The supremely popular TikTok could be banned on Sunday under a federal law that forces the video sharing platform to be sold by its China-based parent company ByteDance or shut down its U.S. operations. And as I said, TikTok announced tonight that they will go dark on Sunday. Regardless of whether the U.S. government makes them go dark, they will go dark if they don't get assurance, some strong assurance, stronger than has been given so far, that the U.S. will not enforce this ban. So even if the U.S. doesn't immediately make them go dark, doesn't immediately make them stop working, they're just going to do it themselves unless something happens in the next day. Several parties have expressed interest in buying them, but ByteDance has repeatedly said it does not plan to sell. Experts have also noted the Chinese government is unlikely to approve a sale that includes TikTok's coveted algorithm. That's what I was talking about. The algorithm. It's the program that TikTok uses to figure out what to show you next. But until the deadline, so we don't even know if they would sell it. But until the deadline passes, the possibility of a purchase is still possible. How much is it worth? Wedbush analyst Dan Ives estimates TikTok is worth well north of $100 billion with the algorithm, and potentially up to $200 billion in a best case scenario. Without the algorithm, it's $40 billion to $50 billion. He said, adding he does not believe ByteDance in Beijing would sell TikTok with the algorithm. So I guess if you sold it without the algorithm, what would have to happen is somebody would need to buy it and then create their own algorithm that figures out what to show you. And it might not work the same. I would assume initially it would not work the same. Let's see. Attorneys for TikTok and ByteDance have claimed it's impossible to divest the platform commercially and technologically. They also say any sale of TikTok without the coveted algorithm, the platform's secret sauce, that Chinese authorities would likely block selling under any divestiture plan, would turn the U.S. version of TikTok into an island disconnected from other global content. Fine. U.S. officials have warned that the algorithm that chooses what to show you is vulnerable to manipulation by Chinese authorities who can use it to shape content on the platform in a way that's difficult to detect. Who's serious about buying TikTok? Billionaire businessman and real estate mogul Frank McCourt and his internet advocacy group recently announced it had submitted a proposal to buy the social media site from ByteDance. Famed Shark Tank investor Kevin O'Leary has also joined the effort. The group said in December it had secured commitments from investors totaling more than $20 billion in capital. Okay. Former Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin has also taken steps to purchase TikTok. Mnuchin told, where is it here? Mnuchin told CNBC he had started creating an investor group that would purchase the popular social media company. He offered no details about who may be in the group or about TikTok's possible valuation. Several other names have been floated as possible buyers. Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Jimmy Donaldson, aka Mr. Beast, who recently posted on social media about possibly pulling off such a deal, and former Blizzard Activision CEO Bobby Kotick. Whether these buyers are serious and actively assembling a bid for the company, however, is not clear. Okay. Can Trump intervene? The Trump transition team has not offered details on how Trump plans to carry out his campaign pledge to save TikTok. Trump's national security advisor signaled this week the incoming administration may take steps to keep TikTok from going dark, although what that looks like and if any of those steps can withhold legal scrutiny remains unclear. Also, after Trump takes office, it would fall on his Justice Department to enforce the law and punish any potential violators. On Wednesday, Pam Bondi, his pick for Attorney General, dodged a question during a Senate hearing on whether she'd uphold the TikTok ban. But it sounds like TikTok itself is not going to accept a situation where the U.S. government isn't enforcing the ban, but they're not really saying what they're doing. Because they just said that here. That's the statement tonight from TikTok. The statements issued today by both the Biden White House and the Department of Justice have failed to provide the necessary clarity and assurance to the service providers that are integral to maintaining TikTok's availability to over 170 million Americans unless the Biden administration immediately provides a definitive statement to satisfy the most critical service providers, assuring non-enforcement. Unfortunately, TikTok will be forced to go dark on January 19th. Is it going to go dark in possibly as soon as 21 hours and 58 minutes and 45 seconds from now? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It could go dark. Maybe for good. Eamon O'Leary. Thanks for your support. Eamon says, Kevin is my dad. We're looking forward to buying it. Thank you, Captain Jerry Donnelly, as well. Captain Jerry Donnelly says, I believe your choice of content provider applications are the same as political party affiliation. Go with what you like. One of our viewers said not many people in the U.S. use it anyway. Yeah, not many, only 170 million. I am on TikTok, but I only post rarely. I really use it much more as a place to I look at stuff on TikTok. I watch videos. You know, I will say, I did try to, I wanted to live stream, I wanted to simulcast these streams on TikTok. And I tried it several times, and every time I would get the stream would get shut down by TikTok, and they would send me some sort of weird reason for doing so, which like one time they did it, they said it was like hateful language. I remember that one. I think when I was covering Ukraine, and it made no sense, and I could never get an answer out of them. And what I took it as happening was they didn't want this kind of content on their platform. That's how I took it. Now, I can't tell you for sure, but all I know is I got reasons sent to me from the company for my stream getting shut down that appeared to me to be completely illegitimate. And I never could get a straight, and just like nobody, I would send in an appeal and like I would get some form response back. So I wish I could have had these streams on TikTok. I tried, but they wouldn't allow it. But I will say, as someone who has watched TikTok a bunch, I don't see this kind of stream on TikTok. I think they try to not touch on controversial news topics. I mean, people post about these things, but I don't see live news coverage, especially live videos. When I watch live videos, I don't remember the last time I saw a live video of somebody doing news content. So maybe they just don't want it there. I mean, it's their platform, so. Anyways. Walkie Talkie says they were very strict with any Luigi M content. Let me take some more comments too. Cesar de Geronimo says 170 million would be half the country. I don't think that is correct. Is it international also? No, it's 170 supposedly American users. AP, TikTok is more than 170 million users. Now, are those regular users? Maybe it's people who've tried it ever, you know? I mean, among young people, I think it's just enormous. I think it might be the most popular app among young people, or one of them. But even a lot of adults use it. Hang on a second here. By the way, India, I think, banned TikTok years ago. Didn't they? Yeah, look. U.S. TikTok ban could echo India chaos as users seek options. This is from Reuters. India banned TikTok in, I believe, 2020 over tensions between China and India, I think. TikTok fans in the U.S. are racing to secure alternatives and safeguard their digital empires ahead of a looming shutdown on Sunday, evoking the chaos of India's 2020 ban that erased the app from the lives of 200 million users overnight. While the U.S. ban has been debated for months, India acted swiftly in June 2020 to block TikTok and nearly 60 other Chinese apps over national security concerns, stripping many creators of their main source of income and shattering a digital community. How about that? The disruption forced content creators to rebuild their followings and businesses on new homegrown apps and established platforms such as Instagram, which emerged as a big winner of the ban. While top influencers successfully made the switch and even expanded their audiences, smaller creators struggled to achieve the same success. Millions of TikTok refugees in the U.S. are signing up for the Chinese social media app RedNote. However, experts caution that the user experience on these new apps often falls short of what TikTok had provided, allowing U.S. tech giants to fill the gap. Instagram Reels, a TikTok-like service launched in August 2020, just months after the Chinese app was banned in India, has found its biggest audience in the country. But India did ban it in 2020. Doll Cleek says, it just seems like someone will step in and buy. Will China allow it to get sold? By the way, here's another possibility. Biden or Trump could still rescue TikTok. Here's how. So if we go down here, the TikTok law gives the president authority to grant a one-time extension of up to 90 days on the deadline for a sale, if he certifies that there is a path for and evidence of progress toward a divestment, including binding legal agreements, which the law does not define. Meeting those requirements would make it feasible for Biden, or I assume Trump, to give ByteDance a nearly 3-month reprieve if a deal were on the horizon, according to this expert in this Reuters article. While no offer appears imminent under such a scenario, the binding legal agreement criteria could potentially be met by the signing of a simple term sheet between ByteDance and a prospective buyer. Let's see. But to halt the ban on a longer-term basis could require incoming President Trump to direct his Justice Department to deprioritize or not enforce the law, probably for a specified period of time. That would take a page from former President Obama, whose administration in 2012 decided to use prosecutorial discretion to grant deportation relief to immigrants who came to the U.S. illegally as children. In TikTok's case, it could give Congress time to consider a new bill that would give ByteDance another 270 days to find an American buyer before being shut down. So who knows? Maybe the U.S. government will figure out a way to give ByteDance more time. Still, however, the new law threatens to penalize the tech companies that make TikTok available via their app stores, Apple and Google, and it's unclear whether their lawyers would risk continuing to offer the app. Also, Oracle, I believe, the Wall Street Journal says Oracle stores TikTok user data. So, even if the U.S. says we're going to give TikTok more time, ByteDance more time to sell TikTok, will the U.S. companies that TikTok needs to get to consumers, that TikTok works with to get to U.S. consumers, will those U.S. companies want to work with an app that's technically banned and where they might see themselves putting themselves in legal jeopardy? I don't know. So like what it's saying here is if Trump said he was going to not enforce the law, these companies, said this expert, here they would have the president saying he was not going to enforce the law, although they would still be in clear violation of the law. And the companies might just say, well, he says he's not going to enforce the law, Trump, but we can't take that risk. Maybe he'll change his mind, right? And also, you guys were asking about an executive order. Trump could issue an executive order, the article says, invoking the sweeping International Emergency Economic Powers Act and claim that keeping TikTok is beneficial for national security, said a professor at Georgetown University. Trump could argue, for example, that such a move would keep users from fleeing to Chinese app Red Note, which is run directly from China and subject to Communist Party censorship. The order could tell tech companies like Apple or Google that they would face no consequences for defying the law. For example, by keeping TikTok in their app stores past the legally mandated deadline. The experts said such a scenario, if Trump wanted to try to do that, would not be without its challenges. When the president can refuse to enforce the direct mandate of the law and promise the subjects of the law it will not be enforced on them, that opens a can of worms, he said. I don't want to say it's illegal, said this expert. It's creative and it's an affront to Congress. But when you give the president open-ended national security authority, he might exercise it in unexpected ways. So while I'm not an expert on this, clearly, all this legal stuff, I think one thing you can see from these articles is maybe there's, maneuvers that Trump could do legally that would somehow let him give more time to ByteDance to sell. But would that be okay with ByteDance? Or would ByteDance just say we're shutting? ByteDance has said we're going to shut down tomorrow. if you don't give us certain assurances. And so also, if Trump tries to do something that's questionable legally, couldn't somebody just sue him and then it would go to court and maybe a court would say, no, you can't do that, Trump. So I don't know what's going to happen here. But I mean, while I'm not a legal expert, hopefully the articles just give you a little bit of a sense of, I think there's some complex legal issues going on here. Princess Santos says Trump will save it. We got to do a poll. Will TikTok go dark on Sunday? That's our poll. Will TikTok go dark on Sunday? Yes or no? I'm asking you in the chat right now. And we'll see what you guys say. I'm even going to post it on Facebook, even though they make it hard. Go dark means stop working. I should say that. Go dark means it just stops working. It's not working. You can't even use it. Not only is it not in the App Store, it just stops working. For everybody. Nobody can use it. All right, hold on a moment. I am posting this on Facebook, and then I will give you the results from the poll. Okay, our YouTube viewers, here's what they said. I said, will it go dark? Will it stop working on Sunday? So far, 64% of you think it's going to stop working. That would be a huge deal if it just stops working. Now, could it stop working and come back the next day? I don't know. On Twitch, 60% of you think it's going to go dark on Sunday. Oopsie. There's Trump's post. Hold on a second here. I wanted to show you guys. Hold on. I wanted to see what Facebook says. What is Facebook saying? Over on Facebook, the vote is our 64% Facebook. We only have a couple votes on Facebook, and it's everybody's saying no on Facebook so far. Facebook disagrees with the other two. Gandalf says you'll live without TikTok. There must be, I don't even know where like the young people who watch TikTok. There's probably people live streaming on TikTok, like popular TikTok live streamers talking about this. I mean, they could lose their livelihoods. Messi says Elon should buy it. Gina Pina says, Billboard has a TikTok music chart. I wonder if they will have to change that or if it will just be international users being charted. Oh, Paul Anderson is modding, by the way. Thanks, Paul. Scott Dixon thinks Elon will eventually own it. The Party Fairy says, I want it gone. Why do you want it gone? All right, thanks for voting in the poll. So the majority of you, well, 66% of you on YouTube thought it would go dark on Sunday, 53% on Twitch. Everybody on Facebook thinks it's a no. All right. Maybe we'll talk about a couple more things here. Raquel Ross says, I think they'll go dark just to say they did. Hey, thanks to Alicia Alexander, who says this is like a new kind of subtle warfare. Alicia says, it's a very addictive app. The algorithm is crazy accurate. I've learned a lot from the app, and it has helped me feel validated. I think the app is great for certain things. I've seen a lot of cool stuff on the app that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. Also, it's something I think for a lot of people, they will really miss it if it goes away. Let me just check. Sorry, I'm checking if people have been selling me some other things too. Not selling. People have been sending me some other things too. Look at Duolingo comments? What does that mean? Why are you saying look at Duolingo comments? Yautsin says anything as addictive as TikTok is harmful for human brains? 100% harmful? That's what Yautsin says. Oregon guy says, I've never used or subscribed to TikTok. I'm not interested. I'm telling you, I think there's a lot of good stuff on there. Karen Moore, our viewer, says, I understand the security concerns with TikTok, but it's crazy that one country can demand that another country sell their platform. What a mess. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that like China, the Chinese government is not happy with this demand that they sell this wildly popular social media app, that this Chinese company sell it. The New York Times thinks that TikTok's statement tonight that said they might just go dark on Sunday, they say that that's the TikTok's latest attempt to pressure the administration to grant it a reprieve from the law. And again, the two big concerns of the American government with TikTok is one, that TikTok, the app, gives the app owners sensitive data about U.S. users. Now, I haven't done my reading before on this and gone back and read more stuff on this. So in terms of what that sensitive data is, I don't know what exactly the data is that TikTok gets from their viewers. I don't know if it's like location data or if it can read your text. Who knows, you know? But the point is that, so whatever, that's a whole interesting question, which I'm not going to research that right now at 2:20 in the morning. But whatever it is, whatever that, or who you message on TikTok, or I don't know what it has access to. But the U.S. worries that the Chinese government could get a hold of that, could make the company hand that data over. And also, the U.S. worries that the Chinese government could basically tell the company what kind of videos to show people and maybe use that to influence opinion on certain topics in the U.S., for example, subtly. Those are the two big concerns. Also, the New York Times points out that the companies that work with TikTok to get TikTok to consumers in the US, like Google and Apple and Oracle, those companies could face penalties as high as $5,000 for each TikTok user who accesses the app inside the US after the ban. So if you think there's over 100 million users, you can see the amount of money we're talking about here. So the point is that these companies that TikTok needs to work with them, unless they're sure that this thing is not going to be enforced, they might not want to take any risks and keep working with TikTok starting on Sunday. The Times says that Trump has indicated his support for TikTok, but how his administration will proceed on the matter is unclear. Kimberly Bain says, what if you access it using a VPN? I have no idea if that would work. I don't know. I do not know. By the way, thank you to Jeffrey Singleton, who says, I will miss TikTok. I think millions and millions of people will miss TikTok if it's gone. But it may be gone. Thank you, Captain Jerry Donnelly, who says, require analogs use the same clickbait data. Thanks, Captain Jerry Donnelly. Thank you also over there on Twitch, Spectre EH for subscribing, and Oxytropis for your support. Popcorn Fart. Who is buying Intel? Is Intel being sold? I know nothing about it. Sam Bino says, I think people should be allowed to choose what they watch, but that's just me. Let's see here. Hold on a second here. Oh, let me see if I can find this for you. Hold on a second here. Hang on. I was looking up information on what kind of data So AP had an article last year that said the Wall Street Journal reported that TikTok had tracked users who had watched LGBTQ content, for example. That was in 2023. TikTok tracked users who watched gay content, prompting employee complaints. The Wall Street Journal in 2023 said, for at least a year, some employees of TikTok were able to find what they described internally as a list of users who watched gay content on the popular app. And they say that this data can essentially create a list of vulnerable users in parts of the world where some LGBT people face harassment and violence. I mean, that would just be one example of sensitive data that they might collect. I was just trying to give you a sense of the kinds of data that TikTok might collect. Let's see here. So ABC News had an article in 2023 saying, talking about TikTok and data, and said, actually, where is it here? That was a little confusing here. It's a little technical and quick. The Guardian in 2023 had an article, TikTok data collection could reveal what floor a user is on. They say the Australian-US cybersecurity company, an Australian-US cybersecurity company said TikTok has increased what location information it collects to include altitude, and it could tell what floor of a building a user is on. Anyways, I can't, there are these articles out there. I'm just telling you what these articles said. I haven't checked and validated these things. But, so it's a good question as to what exactly the data is they collect. But one of the big concerns is that by the U.S. government in passing the law was that sensitive data on U.S. users could be passed along to the Chinese government. Now, Tom's Guide has an article, TikTok is under fire for harvesting data, but is it any worse than any other social media platform? That I don't know. So, all right, I'll read a few more comments here. There's so many aspects to this topic, but I need to do some more background reading on all that, on these specific different aspects here. So many aspects with the data and the legal stuff and all that stuff. Let's see. Pocket Aces says we need to curb data collection by U.S. companies too, but that's a different conversation. Tony Lamartina says TikTok does not allow freedom of speech and should be banned. That is not why it's being banned if it does get banned. Stephen Urkel is asking if TikTok can track which websites specifically people visit. I mean, that might be sensitive information, and I don't know. Thank you, Poco, for subscribing on Twitch. All right, so, well, look, it is now 2:30 in the morning, and I wanted to come on and give an update about this story. Oregon guy says, Corgan, our guy, read something. Oregon guy, where is that? Oh, Oregon guy had an article from Vox that talked about this, about TikTok. Hold on a second. Oh, I didn't even read the Supreme Court ruling today. Oregon guy said the Supreme Court ruling today on the TikTok law cited a congressional report that has found TikTok's data collection practices extend to age, phone number, precise location, internet address, device used, phone contact, social network connections, the content of private messages sent through the application, and videos watched. And Vox points out that this information could be potentially used by the Chinese government to target or even blackmail federal officials or high-ranking corporate executives. That's from Vox. If you want to read the Vox article, it's called The Supreme Court's Decision Upholding the TikTok Ban Explained. Thank you, Oregon guy, for mentioning that. Andy Krug says, am I sad about the TikTok departure? I mean, Look, I understand the concerns about it. I mean, on a personal, I use it, and I've certainly been introduced to content through it that I think is very entertaining and I like. There's a guy who makes watch videos, Tuscany Rose, John Buckley. I really enjoy them. I'm not even into watches. I don't wear watches, but they're really cool videos. I would have never discovered those without TikTok. I feel like I've learned things about different topics on TikTok. So yeah, I enjoy watching it. I'll miss it for that reason if it's not around. And I'll also feel really bad for all the people the creators on TikTok there's people, there's a guy I follow who's a pilot, a couple pilots, and they talk about how it is being a pilot, and they show what it's like, and it's really interesting. But I'll feel bad I'll also feel bad for people who, they either make their livelihood on TikTok or use it to supplement their income, or they just, have these accounts that allow them to reach their followers, and they've created a community that they can reach out to. There's no guarantee that you can replicate that somewhere else. It might just go away. And there's a lot of people who've made businesses on TikTok too. So there's people I watch who do restaurant reviews. There's a guy I watch, I think his name is Rob Martinez. And what Rob does is he goes to local restaurants around the country, and he just interviews the people who own the restaurants, people who have these really interesting stories about these family restaurants. It's really cool. And then it helps the restaurant. I mean, Keith Lee on TikTok is this guy who does restaurant reviews, and he'll go to restaurants that and review them. And he's known for he'll review a restaurant and he'll say it's really good and it hasn't really been doing well, and it'll just change the restaurant's fortunes just like that. So there's a lot of neat stuff out there, and all of that stuff, I mean, and there's so much more, it'll just go away. So it's sad. Now, who's to say? I'm not sitting here telling you what you should think about the law and whether the benefits of the law are worth, benefits of banning it are worth the costs. That's a whole different discussion. I'm just saying, there's a lot of neat stuff that won't be there anymore. And maybe some of these communities can be replicated on this platform, but maybe they can't. On another platform, but maybe they can't. In the same way, if you like YouTube or you like Facebook or you like Twitch or you like X, if that platform went away, the creators might go, or you like Instagram or whatever, if that platform went away, the creators might go somewhere else, but it probably wouldn't be the same. Anyways. Daniel Ryan Design says, maybe time to evolve. I don't think, anyways, a number of the people who watch this channel, I think, don't use TikTok, and I understand that, but I think it's pretty neat. Anyways. All right. UV Lightning thinks I'm right. I think maybe UV Lightning uses TikTok. Anyways, so what we're going to do is, it's getting late, so I wanted to come on and just do an update about this. If nothing happens today, and it looks like, that we're getting towards midnight or whatever the deadline they'll set up. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be midnight Eastern or midnight Pacific, but we will definitely cover this live if it looks like it's going dark. So I will stay on this, but again, we will certainly have live coverage if it's getting down to the deadline and it looks like it might go dark. Justin D says, should we start a GoFundMe for TikTok? You know what I haven't even had time to do and I want to do? It's been so busy this week. I know that lots of people are posting on TikTok about this. There's probably people streaming live about it right now. I haven't even had time to look at that stuff. Anyways, so wanted to give an update on this. I appreciate people coming by the stream and commenting in the chat. Awkward Texan sent me a post about people migrating to Red Notes, this Chinese app, and making videos about it on TikTok. I can't show any of those on the air. Thank you, Awkward Texan. Awkward Texan mentioned that to me. Thank you. Yeah, I've seen videos like where somebody make a video and be like, hey, you wanted us to not do TikTok, but now we're going to this app that's even more Chinese than TikTok. But I don't know how many people are really going over there. So, anyways, okay, Lord Cox says Little Red Book. So, again, less than by my count, if it's midnight Eastern time, in 21 hours and 21 minutes, TikTok could go dark. It could stop working in the U.S. 170 million U.S. users just stop working, maybe for good. Wow. Is it just going to go away? We'll have to see. Thank you, Alicia Alexander, who says, I wonder how this will affect the app in other countries. You know, would other countries follow the U.S. if the U.S. ended up banning it? Good question. Oh, and thank you, Captain Jerry Donnelly, as well. I really appreciate, and also, I really appreciate you guys tuning in for this late night update. So, if this is going towards TikTok going dark or being banned and stopping working, either way, if it's getting close to TikTok not working anymore, we will be back live to cover that. One of our viewers, JB, said Congress says using a VPN to access TikTok will be breaking federal law. Oh, the Washington Post said something about this. Hold on one moment. Somebody asked about VPNs. It is a very interesting topic. There's so many different side parts to it too. Yes, if you use a VPN for TikTok ban, make sure it's the one you can trust. It's one you can trust. The Washington Post says VPNs, or virtual private networks, are standard technology for many people in authoritarian countries to shield their online activity and sidestep government censorship online. Now more Americans are getting a crash course in VPNs because of TikTok. If you are going to use a VPN to try to access TikTok after it's banned in the US, you need to make sure it's one you can trust, and that ain't easy. They're just like recommending VPNs. I thought they were going to talk about why this is. Are they saying it's one you can trust because the US government might find out about your doing it? Anyways, I thought this was going to be more about specifically about. From our reporting, we believe that using a VPN will let people in the US keep using the TikTok app that's downloaded on your phone if a ban goes into effect this weekend. We're not positive that if VPNs will be effective workarounds, though, and we'll test this option if TikTok flickers off. So they're not even sure it'll work. Hot Pink 90 said Sun says some VPNs are data miners. And then the Washington Post had a different article, what happens if TikTok is banned? And they said, would I get in trouble if I still try to use TikTok? No, the law does not order Americans to stop using TikTok if it's banned or to delete the app from our phones. Only companies, including App Store owners, Apple and Google, could face mammoth fines for breaking the law. How could I keep using TikTok? Would a VPN help? One probable option, if it's banned, is through a VPN. A VPN can make it appear as though you're using TikTok from another country. VPNs tend to be commonly used in countries where the government blocks access to some apps. If you do wind up using a VPN, be wary of downloading the first ones you find in a search. Some VPNs can be sketchy, data hogging monsters. Anyways, so maybe some people would keep using it that way. I think a lot of people probably There would certainly be, even if some people did, I'm sure there's a lot of people who just wouldn't want to, or be used to, or want to pay for using a VPN to keep accessing it, if it even still works. I don't know if it would work. Okay. All right. I'm going to start wrapping this up. Thank you, by the way, to tuning in. Subscribe, follow the channel, Agenda Free TV. Turn on the notifications. I never know when we're going live, usually. So we have a notification system. It works awesome. You sign up once, you get sent a notification whenever we go live. So sign up for the notifications. The mods will post the link in the chat. I can post a link. It might be so late we don't even have many mods, which I understand because it's so late now. I'll post a link to the notifications if you give me a second. I can just cut and paste it from the video description. It's on the description of this video on YouTube and Facebook. So I'll just cut and paste it. Here it is. Oopsie. Cut and paste it. Here it is. Now I can hear myself. I found it. Okay, I posted the link to the notifications, and that also is the link to our free chat where you can chat with other viewers not on the air on Discord. So that link I just posted is for the chat and for the notifications. I'll post it one more time, the Discord link. Hey, also, I really appreciate you tuning in late night. Thanks for some really interesting comments and questions in the chat. I'm sorry I don't know more about all this stuff and can't answer all your questions, but thanks for all the chat messages and things you've been sending me. And shout out to our moderators. You guys are awesome. Hey, Robert's May Queen is over there moderating on YouTube at this hour. Janet B as well on Twitch. Surly Dev and Sarah, thanks so much. Paul Anderson and Kay Lowry Body have been over there on Facebook. I'm going over there right now. Also, Linda Belk and Larry on X. Margaret Riley as well on Facebook. Thanks for moderating, everybody. Much appreciated. And thanks for the donations. That's super nice of you, Lord Cog and everybody else who donated. Very nice of you. You are the ones who allow this channel to exist with your support. So really, really appreciate it. And if you ever want to donate, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But thank you so much. Very kind of you. And let's see. I will post updates on my X account. And if this is getting down to it, end of the day, and we think it's gonna stop working, I'll come back on the air and cover it. But my X account, I will post updates there in the meantime on this and other stories at Lookner on X. Post a link to that in the chat. And also Agenda Free TV on X. I post updates about the channel there. I post when we're going live, schedule changes, stuff, news about the channel. Follow that at Agenda Free TV. And thanks to our Discord mods, by the way. And hey, if you do watch on YouTube, turn on the YouTube notifications. I suggest you do that. Give me one moment here. So there's the channel on YouTube, and if you're a YouTube viewer, if you subscribe, make sure you have the notifications bell checked, and you've chosen all notifications. NY Committee did it. Thank you, NY Committee. And what else did I want to say? Hey, shout out to our Twitch subscribers. Thanks so much for subscribing over there. Night Owl, JRG770. And Poco, Gonzalez, Spectre EH, Gina Pina, Wall Street and Shaggy, all of our Twitch subscribers, thank you. Our Facebook subscribers, like Eve Richards and Robert Rial II, Diane Allworth, Lou Green. Thanks, Lou, for being there. Lou says we can find positive things on all social media platforms too. Margaret Riley, thanks for subscribing. Thanks, Jose Lopez, for being there on Facebook. Artist Caverlin says Sunday should be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I assume if they say they're going dark on Sunday, they mean as soon as we get to Sunday. That's why I have the clock at 21 hours, 11 minutes, 52 seconds. But who knows? Dennis Britt, thanks for being there too on Facebook. Robin Pilas. And D. Schmidt as well. Also, our YouTube members like Jeff Paff, Marty Hagwood, Heather N., Don Don, Mark G., NDAH, Samurai Consciousness, UV Lightning, Crypto King, Beth, Sadi BB, Alicia Alexander, Aaron Hardy, Jean Romaine, Kimberly Bain, Wickedest Witch, Andrew Gordon, Stratagems Gem Art, The Dude, Lord Cog, thanks for being members, JB, TJ Adams, Ann Walter, Tess Trueheart, Walkie Talkie, Justin D, Barry. Thank you, members. Miss Bouvelle. Miss Bouvelle thinks it's a nothing burger. Barb Mac, thank you. Barb Mac says, we'll tune in later to see what happens. Maybe I'll cover it again if we're getting close. If we're getting real close to the deadline. All right, guys. Don, thanks for being a member. All of our other viewers there. All right. That is it, guys. Thank you for watching our... Fweaky Beat says some nothing burgers are really tasty. I think Fweaky Beat said that. All right, guys. Thanks, My Adventures, for being here on Twitch, The Master, and others. Okay. Thanks, My Adventures, for your kind words about the channel. Big Tommy says, where am I going to watch once TikTok is banned? Folks, we'll have to see what happens. I really appreciate you joining me for this late night update on TikTok possibly going away, going dark on Sunday, or being banned on Sunday. Either way, stopping working on Sunday. We'll see what happens. I think it's a really big deal. Anyways, we'll see what happens. All right, that is it. Thank you for watching our update, and we'll see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.